Palestinian Islamic Jihad said on Monday an Israeli airstrike in Damascus overnight killed two members of the group. Israeli fighter jets launched airstrikes on suspected Islamic Jihad positions in Syria just before midnight last night after the group and Israeli forces clashed around Gaza earlier in the day. These strikes in the Aliliya region outside Damascus. Islamic Jihad later said in a statement two of its members were killed in the strike. The Syrian state news agency quoted a military source as saying Israeli aircraft entered Syrian airspace and targeted areas around Damascus with a wave of guided missiles. News reports said Monday a large Turkish military convoy entered the northwestern Syrian province of Idlib. The 50-vehicle convoy was accompanied by the Syrian National Army troops. Reports said Turkey was deploying special forces to the border with Syria to strengthen its troops' standing guard. President Bashar al-Assad's regime has been on the offensive since December to capture and reopen a strategic highway held by the opposition since 2012, despite the ceasefire deal brokered late last year between Russia and Turkey. Regime forces captured the key town of Marit al-Nu'man from the rebels late Wednesday and have now set their sights on the town of Sarqib. The strategic highway passes through both. Iran's Interior Ministry said Monday that voter turnout in last week's parliamentary elections stood at 42.57%, the lowest in decades, in a possible sign of widespread dissatisfaction with the state of the economy amid intense pressure from the United States. In comparison, turnout was nearly 62% in the 2016 elections. Turnout has consistently been above 50% since the country's Islamic Revolution some 4 decades ago. Voters also had limited options on Friday's ballot, as more than 7,000 potential candidates had been disqualified, most of them reformists and moderates. Among those disqualified were 90 sitting members of Iran's 290-seat parliament who had wanted to run for re-election. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has said that the Afghan peace treaty would be signed in Pakistan's presence. Pakistan, he said, is taking effort to constitute an extensive delegation after February 29th to promote intra-Afghan dialogue. The treaty is to be signed on February 29th. Foreign Minister Qureshi said that the signs were positive as both parties in the Afghan peace process had declared settling of affairs and reaching an agreement. He underlined the need for addressing the issue of reducing violence before signing of the agreement. Malaysian Prime Minister Mahathir Mohamad has resigned Monday, but this shock move is likely to be followed by declarations of support for him to continue in power until the end of the current parliamentary term. The Prime Minister's office has confirmed in a statement that the resignation letter was sent to Malaysia's king. Speculation that Premier Mahathir tendered his resignation gained steam on Monday afternoon, a development that officials confirmed. As Bernie Sanders looked to cement his front-runner status in the U.S. Democratic presidential race after his dominant win in Nevada, his rival sought in rallies on Monday to blunt his momentum ahead of 15 nominating contests in the next 10 days. Sanders, an independent senator from Vermont and self-avowed Democratic Socialist, rode a wave of support across age, race, and ideology to capture 47% of the county convention delegates in the Nevada caucus, with 88% of percentage reporting. According to projections, former Vice President Joe Biden, who had lackluster performances in the first 2 nominating contests in Iowa and New Hampshire, secured a second-place finish in Nevada. But he trailed Sanders by a wide margin, likely to finish more than 20 percentage points behind once all of the votes are tallied. China on Monday reported 409 new cases of a new virus, putting its national total past 77,000. It also reported a jump in the number of deaths, with 150 new deaths for a total of 2,592. Significant jumps in cases outside China have raised concern of the outbreak getting out of control. New outbreaks in Italy and Iran have also raised concern. Far from where the illness first emerged, authorities in Italy battled to contain Europe's first major outbreak, and Iran reported 8 deaths, the highest toll outside of China. Some of the disease clusters identified in recent days have shown no link to China, a worrying sign of the virus spreading beyond control. Authorities said Monday non-residents of Wuhan may leave the quarantine city at the epicenter of China's virus epidemic if they show no symptoms and have never had contact with patients. Wuhan, a city of 11 million, has been under lockdown since January 23rd after authorities shut down transport links into and out of the city in an effort to contain the new coronavirus outbreak. The city said in a statement, non-residents may leave if they show no symptoms of the new coronavirus and have never had contact with patients. South Korea reported 161 more coronavirus cases Monday, taking the nationwide total to 763 and making it the world's largest total outside China. The country has seen a rapid surge in the number of coronavirus cases, adding more than 700 cases in less than a week since the cluster of infections emerged from a religious sect in the southern city of Daegu. The Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said in a statement, most of the country's cases are connected to the Shincheonji Church of Jesus in the southern city of Daegu, including 129 of Monday's confirmations. Venice ended its Carnival early, and Fashion Week in Milan restricted public access after Italian authorities cancelled all public events in both cities to contain the surge of coronavirus infections. The two iconic events, which drew hundreds of thousands of visitors to the northern Italian cities, were disrupted on Sunday by an outbreak of the virus in surrounding regions. The head of Italy's Civil Protection Department told the news conference that 152 people had now tested positive for the virus in the country, including 3 deceased. Britain on Monday starts hearing Washington's extradition request for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in a test case of media freedoms in the digital age and the limits of U.S. justice. A ruling against Assange in the case could see the 48-year-old Australian jailed for 175 years if convicted on all 17 U.S. Assange Act charges and 1 count of computer hacking he faces. Each stems from his site's release in 2010 of a trove of classified State Department and Pentagon files detailing the realities of the U.S. campaigns in Afghanistan and Iraq. Haitian police officers exchanged gunfire for hours Monday with soldiers of the newly reconstituted army outside the National Palace in dangerous escalation of protests over police pay and working conditions. Officers said at least 3 police officers were wounded. The Army's High Command said in an online statement that a soldier had been wounded by a bullet in the back. Haiti's raucous 3-day carnival celebration was to have started Sunday afternoon in Port-au-Prince and other major cities, but the government announced Sunday night that the carnival was cancelled in the capital to avoid a bloodbath. Police protesters and their backers had burned dozens of carnival floats and stands at recent protests, saying they did not believe the country should be celebrating during a crisis.